incredibly excited about returning to the Mick Extance Experience with the Microsoft Bike Club. Firstly, for the opportunity to ride over the kind of terrain you simply don't get on the trails and byways that I'm accustomed to. Secondly, to get to know people from around my work that I'd probably never bump into otherwise, but primarily for the opportunity to ride the much discussed Stark Varg electric Enduro bike, one of the most exciting bikes, in my opinion anyway, to hit the market in some time, boasting monumental power and torque figures, whilst remaining light and nimble and, let's face it, looking like it's been beamed down from the Starship Enterprise. We were supposed to be a group of 12, but unfortunately, some very inconsiderate thieves broke into the Mick Extance HQ and stole a bunch of their bikes right before we were due to get there. I'd like to say a huge thank you to the Mick Extance team and everyone who rallied around to gather enough bikes together to allow our event to go ahead as a group of 8. If nothing else, it's a great excuse to return later in the year to make sure everyone gets the opportunity to have the full Mick Extance experience. Our group was the usual mix of off-road riding experience, from keen enduro and adventure riders at one end to people for whom this was their first foray into off-road riding and everything in between. Even following the thefts, there was a bike to suit every rider. Lightning-quick Stark Vargs, fire-breathing Beta X trainers, and more forgiving 125s like the plucky green Kawasaki, which must be one of the hardest working bikes in the industry. After some time in the training area, getting familiar with the bikes and learning how to control them, we hit the gravel forestry roads to begin our adventure. There are a seemingly endless number of tricky single-track trails in the forestry land Mick and the team have access to. We started with one which, whilst relatively short, gave us all an opportunity to put the skills we'd just practiced in the training arena into action.
That's a bit of rutted stuff.
We did a few laps of this track, experimenting with different lines and techniques. It's always surprising how tiring this sort of drill can be at first, compared to later on in the day when you're warmed up and in the groove. We then headed up the hill to the motocross track for a few laps.
It's extremely easy to ride this. Gonna go for one lap sitting down, just recover the old arms a bit. Fill a bit of space. I'll give him a little bit of a head start. We go for one, like stood up a little bit more. I'll give him a head start. Oh yeah, I am, definitely. Actually, is the light flashing?
It is, yeah.
Fine. I'll go and see if I catch him up.
Having worn ourselves out playing on the track, we headed off down some technical and fairly wet forest trails. It was an unusually peaceful experience being on the Stark.
You know what's so weird? It's like going through those big puddles, it's just silent, ripply water sounds.
We regrouped to ride back down the mountain. I took up a position at the back of the group and was very impressed to see Keith taking on a pretty gnarly rock step on the Kawasaki. This was literally his first time riding off-road, and it just shows how quickly you can progress and how capable even a simple 125 is in this terrain. From here, we headed back along the forestry road to the quarry zone.
Up the big hill! Woo! Go on, go on, go on, go on! Yes! Hey! That was the minimum viable solution. Nearly missed the turn. There's enough engine braking in this, you don't have to touch the brake on the way down at all, do you? Not been on an off-road bike before.
With the quarry conquered for now, it was time to head back to base for some lunch. Refreshed and keen for more trails, we headed off back into the forest. Or at least I did, as Instructor Sean took us by surprise and headed off whilst the rest of the group was still getting kitted up. This did, however, give me a great opportunity to stretch the legs of the Stark, albeit only using a fraction of its ultimate performance. It really is very impressive indeed. The medium mode that I had it set to is around 40 horsepower, and that was more than enough performance for my abilities. The next drill involved controlling our descent down a very steep, very gnarly looking trail.
God, this is washed out since last time I've been here.
This was remarkably easy on the Stark, as with the rear brake lever on the left handlebar,
Lovely day for a stroll, isn't it?
I had control of both brakes, whilst also having both feet available to paddle the bike through the ruts.
Nice.
The terrain here is so ridiculously steep, the camera really doesn't do it justice. I reckon that half of the reason for my breathing heavily is the exertion, and the other half is the abject terror.
There's a committed exit.
Whatever you feel comfortable with, just
Once we reached the bottom successfully, we changed tack again and headed off towards Darkside and the great views from the lookout spot there.
Whoop. Whee! Ah, the end of the known world.
Some of the group were starting to get a little bit tired, so the next couple of sections were optional. There was a pretty steep, rutted descent, followed by a very fun hill climb back to the main path.
Cool. That's pretty good, wasn't it?
We began to wind our way back towards the base, stopping on the way for more optional sections. I think it's safe to say that Ben is enjoying the Stark quite a lot. One of the most fun sections was going back up Rev Max, the trail that we had come down earlier that has the rock step near the bottom.
It's like an enduro race. Into the Christmas trees.
We gathered the group together again and travelled the scenic and at times, I have to admit, pretty sketchy route back to base.
For a very long time, and I was like, I really must go.
At this point, when I was pretty sure we were done for the day, the instructors took us down what I could only describe as a cliff. I have to admit, at this point I was pretty worn out, but it was a really good opportunity to try out the skills that we'd built up throughout the day.
Uh-oh.
Of course, it also offered me the opportunity to exercise one of my most well-mastered skills, falling off in the most inconvenient places possible. For some reason, the ground had temporarily disappeared when I went to put a steadying foot down, so off I went.
No, I get it. There we go. I went to put my foot down and there was nothing there. Take two.
Fortunately, Ben had my back and pretended to be doing something or other with his GoPro for long enough for me to catch my breath.
You take your time, I'll just catch my breath. Like, if you want to just take twice as long as you're intending to, that'd be fine. We'll talk amongst ourselves. Hey, so did anyone see that time that I fell off over there?
A long time ago.
It was a long time ago. I was a different man back then. I'm not quite sure what happened. I just went to put my foot out and there was nothing there.
Oh, there's no bank.
You put the wrong foot down.
Yeah.
You think it's low, it's high. It's right.
I often find that even silly little offs like this can really knock my confidence, especially when I'm tired. So in this case, I did my best to slow things down and focus on the basics, staying relaxed, or at least relatively relaxed, and looking towards where I wanted to go, not the obstacle that's in front of me.
So I can do it when I believe hard enough.
Look up, turn right. Beautiful.
Fine. I was going to just dive off at the end.
You done?
Fine. I was going to just dive off at the end.
What's that?
I'd just go right here.
You go right, buddy.
No, see what you
No, I'm telling everyone the option, but I personally don't like this. All it is a steep shoot into the fire road.
It's
just a
easier
bit of a
when you
adrenaline
can do it with the bike on.
With that somewhat nerve-wracking descent complete, we were at our final obstacle, a steep chute back onto the fire road. I didn't manage to record it, as with all the talk about how steep it was, after having been down so many extremely steep descents that weren't even mentioned how steep they were, I was very focused on the task at hand. In actual fact, it was easy enough, just like dropping into a half-pipe on a BMX. But here's the footage from Ben's GoPro, which shows it in its full, unstabilised glory.
When you hear that nervous giggle.
Well done.
There you go.
But at least you can hear me riding down it in Ben's audio. And with that little mission out the way, and everyone's nerves and bodies for the most part intact, we headed back to base. It was a phenomenal day of riding. I highly recommend checking out the Mick Extance Experience and trying the Stark Varg for yourselves. I'll leave the link in the description. Thanks again to all the Mick Extance team and to everyone that came along and made the day so extremely enjoyable. For now, I'll catch you on the next one.